So yeah, working on this game takes a lot of time, and I'm not even sure how passionate I am about it at this point, given all the other things going on in my life. Starting last November, my hair began falling out due to my recent diagnosis of alopecia areata, which kind of just came out of nowhere. Not having most of my hair has been a big change for me. And just 2 months ago, I moved out into my own apartment closer to the city, and that's opened up all kinds of other cool opportunities for me. So how am I going to continue being interested in a game that takes place in a house that I no longer live in, especially when there's so much going on right here? Even so, because I started something and feel like I'm supposed to conclude it in some way, the thought of making this devlog has been looming over my head for some time now, and I felt like I haven't been able to work on other creative projects without at least posting my most recent development and closing this out until I'm ready to post about it again. So the night before I moved out, 2 months ago, I recorded one last devlog in my bedroom, and it's finally all edited and ready to go. Without further ado, here is devlog 3 as originally intended. Hey, this is video number 3 in a series of devlogs following my progress on a game I've been making. The game takes place in a one-to-one recreation of my childhood bedroom and is inspired by the likes of Chibi-Robo and Katamari. It's certainly been a while, so let's catch back up to speed. Almost 9 months ago, I posted my first devlog where I presented a one-to-one size-accurate textured shell of my bedroom floor, walls, and ceiling, and a working third-person platformer setup with a custom-rigged and animated character model. Then, just over a month after that, I posted my second devlog where I continued figuring things out with Blender and streamlining the modeling process and the importing into Godot. I had some collision issues in Godot, which I'll mention in just a moment. And then I also started thinking a bit about the level design and how I'm going to combine that priority, which is technically essential to making a fun game, with my initial, perhaps less fun idea of just trying to make an exact copy of my room. That level design aspect in particular is going to be really important at some point, but not yet. So now, in March of 2024, Common Era, I have a new set of updates to present. Well, for one, I've done a little learning. First topic, draw calls. Let me correct course here. In my last video, I suggested that, from a developer standpoint, using more small separate meshes and textures was favorable to combining the pieces of a model into one mesh and just doing one UV map and texture for the whole thing. Well, so much for that. Some guy on Reddit said that one of the most important factors for Godot performance is draw calls. For each separate textured mesh, the engine has to make a draw call. And as you can imagine, more draw calls means worse performance when it comes to rendering 3D graphics, I guess. But I now realize, at least for now, none of this conversation is actually all that important because the models in my game have an extremely small number of polygons and all of the textures in the entire game's map so far are less than a megabyte combined and require no filtering. This is a low poly stylized thing, so either way, I'm not worried about this game being difficult to run. Next, collision. So when I was showing off my game last time, I was having some issues with collisions. Whenever the character model touched certain surfaces in the room, it got stuck and sometimes even clipped through. At the time, I suggested this might be due to the orientation of the faces. Turns out I was correct, and I was able to solve this issue by simply flipping the faces. You just gotta make sure you're checking this stuff when you're manually extruding vertices and edges to make your geometry. Okay, now enough rambling about technicalities. What have I actually done in the past 8 months? For the most part, I've really just been making more of the map in Blender as I've found time to do it. Let's just get the big one out of the way. At this point, I've modeled the floors, walls, and ceilings of the entire upstairs of this house. Having lived here as long as I have, it was totally trippy to see all this laid out. Once you can see the amount of empty space between rooms, you kind of start wondering how it's all structured on the inside. Will I use the entire upstairs of the house in my game? I'm not really sure, but probably not. More than anything else, I feel like that has the potential to blow up the scope of my game really fast. Otherwise, I've been modeling more individual things in my room, continuing to flesh it out with authentic, stylized recreations of furniture and clutter. The more I look at what I have now, the more I realize there's just so much more here than there was in my last video. For some of the especially cluttered shelves up here, I actually just have a 2D texture on a flat plane. You have to know, at least for now, there's no way I'm modeling all this stuff. And while I didn't make any changes to the gameplay or functionality, there's certainly plenty of cool new stuff to look at. I also messed around with the viewport resolution in Godot to give it that PS1 or Nintendo DS low-res viewport look, which I'm kind of fond of. This room is looking a lot more lively, and that's really satisfying to me. Lastly, While I don't have anything to show you with regard to this because I don't want to spoil the surprise, just know that at this point there is absolutely a reason for this game to exist in the already oversaturated market of entertainment media. Just around the midpoint between my last devlog and this one, I had a late night epiphany about who this game is for and what I'm really trying to convey here. The setting of this game is obviously relevant to me, but the goal is to make this project worthwhile for people other than me. There's a lot I want to put in here through symbolism, storytelling, and the like. I have some better names for the main character and the game itself, which will be befitting of the messaging here. I'm hoping this game will be able to awaken something in its eventual player base that I wish a game was around to have done for me when I was younger. Sorry to keep you all waiting on this cliff of anticipation, but I just had to say this to make abundantly clear. I want this to be so much more than my little headcanon ego project. So, what more can I say? Well, I will say, to set the bar really low, for the sake of my own sanity, I want to also make clear that I will only continue to make devlogs so long as I really have something significant to show off. I'm not going to keep showing you progress on new meshes and a 3D model. That's not what this is for. I'm going to have to take some time to experiment with gameplay stuff, and I need some space to do that outside of this YouTube prison I've created for myself. So, that's all I've got for you today. When will I see you next? I don't know. And that's okay. Hopefully your excitement can hold on just a little bit longer until the game is released, or until I give my next update. Thanks for sticking around to the end here, and I will maybe see you in the next one. Oh hey, you're still here. I am too. So if you just watched the outro, there was this cool bouncing face logo above the name of my channel, and the name of my channel transformed into the URL of my website, which you maybe should visit. I am a web developer, so everything on there is made from scratch or stolen from Stack Overflow or other people's GitHubs, as we do in the industry. And while this might be the last devlog I post for quite a while, or for forever, given what I said in the intro, there's plenty of other stuff on there that you can check out right now. It just feels good when people acknowledge the things that you make, and it feels even gooder when people let you know that they like the things that you make. So if it sounds even a little bit interesting, please visit my website, cosborn.org, and let me know what you think. Thanks.